Real Madrid has beaten Real Sociedad 4-1 at the Santiago Bernabeu, and let's be completely honest. That first half and that second half is completely uncomparable. Even though the first half, we did look okay in some passages of the play. Yes, we did score in the first half as well, but that second half performance was absolutely immaculate. Vinicius Jr. getting his first goal as well. Kylian Mbappé scoring a hat-trick. And probably the best player on the pitch today, Jude Bellingham, getting 2 assists and playing absolutely everywhere. This was a game of 2 halves. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This wasn't the best game of Real Madrid we have ever seen. This wasn't the most, complete Real Madrid performance we have ever seen. But that second half showed me promise. And Real Madrid, especially in the last 20 to 25 minutes, were moving to Real Sociedad. And that includes the substitutions as well that Jose Mourinho has made. Even though I have something to say about the substitutions, we will get later that, in the second half. Let's talk about the first half briefly, because I don't really want to mention it. I kind of forgot about it, because when you look at these players right now, and you look at the scoreline, you should be happy. But as I said before, 2 completely different halves. First half, we had less possession than Real Sociedad. We had so many chances. Big chance missed by Kylian Mbappé. A pass not given to Arda Güler from Kylian Mbappé, which we're going to talk about as well. Vinicius missed a huge chance. There was absolutely no urgency in the first 20 minutes, especially. In those first 20 minutes, we had no ideas, no structure, no urgency. Nobody was really pressing. The midfield was just... They weren't really rotating well at all, and the goal that we conceded was just one ball over the top, and we have to look at that as well. Then, of course, don't worry, we're going to talk about the second half way more, and we're going to try to look at the positives, especially in this video, because we have had enough of negativity. But briefly on the first half, I didn't like how unprofessional we looked in the first 20 minutes, especially our fullbacks and our, pressing formation. Because fullbacks, the whole game, I think Carreras and Dumfries just had an off game, honestly, both of them. Defensively, attacking-wise, touches. Dumfries, all the game, what he was doing was receiving the ball. And when he finally got the chance to go up there and, do what he's best at, actually attack, he just passed the ball back. Defensively, we know he's not really a defensive fullback, let's be honest. That's why I was really surprised to not see Trent at all in this game. And then again, you get to Carreras, and the first goal that the Real Madrid concedes is just 4 minutes after we, finally score, which was a really good pass, actually, by Fede Valverde, which I really, really appreciated Valverde doing, because, as I said, there was absolutely no urgency from anybody in those first 20 minutes. It started to improve and improve and improve. We had more chances and more chances, where Vinicius, by the way, missed a huge chance in the first half, when Mbappe was passing it to him, and then... he basically hit the keeper. Honestly, it was just such a bad finish. But you could see that we were getting a little bit better, even though Vinicius wasn't really in the game, which we're going to talk about as well. But Fede Valverde finally splits the midfield with an easy run. Nobody's marking him. He finally makes that decision. Gets pushed. Finally, somebody presses him. He gets the pass to Kylian Mbappé. Great first touch. Great finish. Top bins. Then you would think to yourself, finally we scored. The urgency is going to be back. We need to lock in now. And as usual, Real Madrid completely turn off after the 40th minute, after the goal, and Sučić scores such an easy goal. Honestly, they play a ball over the top. Konate does relatively well, to at least get back to his position, because he kind of got cooked at first. Then he gets back, blocks the shot from, I don't know who it was, their left winger, I think, Ochieng. And then Carreras is just nowhere to be seen. The tracking back sometimes from these defenders and midfielders is just atrocious. You have so much space, and you're playing at the Santiago Bernabeu, honestly. At some points of the game, I thought Real Sociedad was actually playing home. This wasn't our stadium, this was a neutral ground. We were losing duels, we were just giving up easy chances, and we still had more chances than them, but once again, we just couldn't capitalize. And when we get the goal, Carreras does this. Some people are blaming, Courtois, but... honestly, how is he even saving it? If you're blaming Courtois, I don't even know what your brain is comprehending in these games. Carreras should do better there, and he got hooked off that, I think that mistake, and especially of the fact that he got a yellow card in the first half as well, which I think was completely fair. And Cucurella absolutely changed the game. Not being the best player on the pitch, not being the best defender on the pitch, because that title will definitely go to Ibrahima Konate, which I will talk about shortly. But Marc Cucurella completely changed the game. A little bit more on the first half before we go to the second half. I think that genuinely that first half is the representation of what I don't want to see from Real Madrid. It's just a very bad passage of play. Then you get into another, section of 20-15 minutes, just pushing. You have chances, you create chances. Maybe you do a little bit too much. I was noticing that Arda Güler, Jude Bellingham, they were just, doing extra passes for nothing. Sometimes just let it go and shoot. It was a real problem. But when he did get into those, shooting opportunities and we actually had a finish, we just couldn't finish. And when we finally do, we concede 4 minutes later. That's just not what I want to see from Real Madrid. I just didn't like the mentality throughout the first half, honestly. The only players I could really look at, from the first half, I know Kylian Mbappé scored, but let's be honest, he didn't really have a great first half, honestly. He had some questionable decisions. Vinicius not as well. Arda Güler couldn't really find his footing in this game as well. He was much better in the second half too. Jude Bellingham, I would say I could give credit to, and I would give credit to the both centre-backs and Federico Valverde. We're going to talk about Bernardo Silva's defensive performance as well, but the whole team in the second half, we just have to talk about it. Oh my goodness. We didn't really dominate them on ball possession. The Real Sociedad is still a respectable team, but look at the change in expected goals and total shots and shots on target. Guys, we had shots on target 0.69 xG. And I know this is inflated with the Vinicius goal, but it doesn't matter, because that Vinicius goal doesn't matter with urgency, with fight, and absolute determination to win this game from the masterclass and the best player on the pitch today. Is not Kylian Mbappé with the hat-trick, it's not Vinicius, it's not the defenders, it's Jude Bellingham. Never disrespect Jude Bellingham ever in your life again. He completed the most dribbles, had 2 assists, was absolutely everywhere, was helping Vinicius with defending, was helping on the other side defending. He was drifting up the pitch, he was carrying the ball up the pitch. Honestly, this guy, 4 chances created, 2 big chances created, 1 block shot, 2 defensive contributions. Like, this guy is absolutely sensational. And he wins you 4 fouls as well. He played 78 minutes, and I think that in the second half, I couldn't have, asked for more from Jude Bellingham. He gave everything on the pitch. That's what I need from Real Madrid players. You're already playing for Real Madrid. You fucking made it. So you might as well make yourself be the best version of yourself, and that's what Jude Bellingham is doing for this team, and he is the most vital and pivotal part of this team. And everybody around him, and when I say everybody, I mean Vinicius Jr. as well, got better. Because in the first 5, 10, maybe even 15 minutes of the second half, we still looked a little bit, weird. I remember Arda gave a sensational pass to Mbappe. He misses that chance. Just a weird finish, honestly. I like near post or back post would have done much better. Ramiro saves it. And I'm already thinking to myself, oh my goodness. Vinicius cannot be his fullback. We're not building up as quick as I'd like to. We had so many open spaces for Sergio Gomez and Aramburu, which I just didn't understand, and then we finally figured it out. Cucurella and Dumfries went just a little bit wider. The midfield was a little bit more compact, where Arda Güler even, liked to drift all over the midfield and helped a little bit more defensively. And then the best players actually did what they do best and actually played like the best players. Because I'm gonna be completely honest. That goal on 2-1, where Cucurella gives the ball to Kylian Mbappé. Kylian Mbappé gives it to Jude. First touch from Jude Bellingham back to Kylian Mbappé. Kylian Mbappé takes a touch, finishes it. That's genuinely, that's the beauty of one-touch football. 1-2 with Jude Bellingham back to Kylian Mbappé. What is Kylian Mbappé gonna do in that situation? He's gonna finish that chance. And that speaks volumes how you actually create chances. Because yes, in the first half we had chances. And of course, Vinicius, I think that was a big chance. You still should be finishing that. But the quality of chances we actually made and, fought for them. Because one of those chances that has the most XG is the Vinicius goal. Look, that XG has an XG of 0.90. But why did we do that? Was it a lucky tap in? Did somebody make a mistake? You know, did, I don't know, the defender gave a ball away? No. Jude Bellingham gave everything he had on the pitch. And I remember Jude Bellingham had a little bit of a fuck up before that. You know, he tried to do too much. He tries to shoot. The ball gets intercepted. You know, he can stop running. And that's what we would have seen, you know, in last season. I remember so many times when Mbappe, Vinny, Jude, even Rodrigo got the ball, they do a sensational chance or they do a sensational run, you know, dribble, and then they finish, it gets blocked, and suddenly they put their hands up. They start looking like, oh my god, I can't get it. Jude Bellingham immediately doesn't even think, goes after the ball, just shields off the ball, gets it off the defender, passes it to Vinicius after a sensational touch, and then pass. Basically, if Vinicius didn't score that, oh my goodness, I would have been screaming for days. But Vinicius gets his goal, gets his assist, the confidence boost that you needed. And you looked much better after that point. You were a little bit more active. You were a little bit more, you know, better on the ball. I would still expect more from Vinicius. You know, I'm not even going to try to be delusional like he had the best game of all time. It was still poor from Vinicius in the first half. And in the second half, yes, he did have that assist and that goal. But let's be honest, if he's not scoring that, we would have all been screaming at him. And then the guy, which is probably the best player in the world on his day, Kylian Mbappé. We always flame him for not being in the box, for doing too much with the ball, for having too much tendencies to be a left winger rather than actually being a number 9. But today, he was all over the shop. Honestly, you could see he's still drifting to the left, but it honestly doesn't matter when he's doing simple things right. It's that 1-2 with Jude Bellingham. It's that, you know, he makes that run and usually just tries to finish. And when he tries to finish, he has so many shots, by the way. So many shots this game. And what I like about Mbappe so much, that he just keeps trying. Because in the Espanyol game, let's be honest, Mbappe, yes, he did have chances, but I didn't see him doing this. I didn't see him doing simple, 1-2s. I didn't see him running into the box. This guy has the most touches in the opposition box. And you would be thinking, yeah, but he has this every game, you know, he's a number 9. No, we always flame him for not even being in the fucking box. This is what you like to see from Kiki. And I don't care, he takes 8 shots. If he needs to take 12 shots to score 3 goals or 50 shots per game to score 3 goals every single game, do that. Hat-trick from Kylian Mbappé. And some of those finishes are sensational. First goal and second goal, just sensational finishes with his left, and then that chance from Jude Bellingham is just like, and even the third goal, I even forgot. Vinicius just waits, doesn't do a fucking rainbow flick, doesn't do it on his own. He just waits, calmly waits for Kylian Mbappé to make that run. He watches his run to not be offside. Vinicius gives it to him through the legs. Kylian Mbappé over the keeper, Harry. What more can you ask for from these players when they actually do simple things? You know, Vinny is not doing anything there that's sensational. But it is sensational in the fact of how simple can you actually make football look. And that's it. There's 2 people right on Vinicius. There is like 15 guys in the box as well. You have like 7 defenders, midfielders from Real Madrid, attackers, Dumfries, everybody's in there. And a simple pass to Kylian Mbappé through the legs, which you just waited a couple seconds for, and Mbappé, sensational finish. Of course, that's a sensational finish. That's just Mbappe's quality. But it's as simple as that, and I liked how we made it simple for ourselves. Like, the goals that we were scoring were either 4 out or were just sensational goals because we have players with sensational ability. And the same, the same goes for the defense. Konate. Once again, if I could write down one thing from preseason in my head, what I was hearing on streams, on social media, from other content creators, I'm not trusting Konate. Konate has a bozo gene. Konate cannot play. He cannot be the starting center back. I think Konate is our best center back at the club. From the last 2 games, I cannot say I have seen a better center back performance since like January, honestly. Or like since November where Militao was still playing. Konate is the perfect center back for La Liga. He's physical, he's fast enough, he's genuinely in aerial duels. I think he's gonna be the best center back in aerial duels in La Liga this season. Mark my words. And his confidence is right here. Like, people talked about how Liverpool, were so bad last season, and he was probably the worst defender in that team. Especially, that he has that bozo gene. He usually does some weird shit, like falls down, doesn't kick the ball away. In these games, honestly, I couldn't fault him for absolutely anything. Shout out to Konate. The same goes for the new signings, Cucurella, Bernardo Silva. Much better defensively. The player I would like to see more from is, of course, Dumfries. I don't know why Trent didn't come on. I would have liked to see Trent for at least 15-20 minutes again if he doesn't play, because I think Trent should be the starting right back still. But defensively, overall from the team, I have to give praise to the midfielders. Arda Güler didn't find his, crazy creative mind today, wasn't that involved in play as, for example, as Jude Bellingham. But he still did his work. You cannot fault Arda for anything, because he still created the most chances. Don't get it twisted. He still had 5 created chances, and that's on his not the most special Arda day, which is absolutely crazy. And you have passing accuracy is there, but what I want to talk about, 3 defensive contributions. You have 59 touches, 7 passes into the final third. He just looks forward as a player. And it doesn't matter where he was playing, that heat map, that doesn't suggest he's a right winger or whatever. He was more on the right today, of course, because I think he was a little bit more, marked by Real Sociedad. That's why he wasn't as good as he was against Espanyol, but he still did great, honestly. I respect the hustle. Now, onto the substitutions. Marc Cucurella already said, much better defensively. He just makes us better overall. He's better than Carreras. We all know that. Camavinga, other than the yellow, I don't know how the fuck he gets a yellow every single game. I think he was really good. Slide tackles, moving up the pitch, looking forward once again with the ball when he receives it, not holding the ball too much. Camavinga was really great. He gets that yellow, I don't know even why. That was such a, stupid yellow. That's not really even his fault. He just does this with his hand and hits the player. I don't know, man. Camavinga is just so unlucky with that sometimes. Brahim Diaz, when he came on, I was like, really? Before Diomande? Can I say something about Brahim Diaz? I honestly, guys, I don't know. He made really good runs on the right. He had that almost a crazy assist, or that starting the chance where he scored that goal, which was offside. He did a back heel to Carlos Espy. Once again, Carlos Espy being a vocal point, getting himself out there. And Diomande, oh my goodness. Barrenetxea, I gotta say, your ankles are still at the Santiago Bernabeu. Go. This brother left his ankles on the pitch, needs to grab them soon as possible. Diomande looked really confident, and finally I noticed he started smiling. He carried himself with a little bit more confidence, and I like that a lot, because in the Espanyol game, that brother did not look confident at all. He was so rigid. It was just weird, nervous. I would call him nervous. But I would say all these substitutions make sense. What I would have liked to see is Trent on the pitch. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think Dumfries offered anything today, other than just being there, honestly. Dumfries just didn't do much in this game, honestly. If I have to give a shout out to anybody from the Real Sociedad team, it's of course Sucic for that goal, always making, something happen in the first half. He was getting himself into dangerous positions, having shots, really high praise for Sucic. And even Ramiro, even though he conceded so many goals, I think it's more on the defense than on him, honestly, because he had some crazy saves. But we have to build on this performance. The last 20 minutes is where Real Madrid started to make runs for themselves. Everybody started to defend. We had great press. It was just a complete flip side from the first 50 to 60 minutes. It was just such a different side. And we didn't even see that one ball over in the first half made us concede. We had so many opportunities where Real Sociedad could have made something happen, but we just defended really well. We made ourselves get back. We just chilled out and quickly played out of the back. I just liked how the players were playing as a team, and they were much more urgent when it came to pressing, defending, and even attacking, getting the ball really fast up the pitch. And that's why we won today. We played much easier. We played as a team. And when it came down to it, the individual brilliance of, these players will save you in these games. And that's exactly what Kylian Mbappé did. Because those 3 finishes are just sensational, honestly. But if I had to give a man of the match for this game, it's Jude Bellingham. Mbappe is close second, and I would honestly say that Konate was just, I don't know, maybe it's the, interpretation of how Konate came in and how the expectation was with Konate, but he's really exceeding those expectations. But yeah, Real Madrid with 4-1, we need to build on this, on this performance, because even though we weren't great in the first half, we still turned up in the second half, and even the substitutions were great on the pitch when they came on. So I really like that from Mourinho. The only thing I would like to see more is Trent over Dumfries, because I think if Trent was playing in that first half, we have more of the position, we have more calmness on the ball, and we would have been better in the first half and even in the second half. But it worked out pretty well. I think we can be happy with the performance, especially in the second half, and Kylian Mbappé already has a hat-trick. Lock in! Everybody lock in now, especially Vinicius. You got your GA. We need to move and not lose a game until at least the point where we meet Barcelona. That's all I'm going to tell you for now. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment your thoughts on this game, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.